You believe you're a good person? Of course you do. Most of us do. We tell ourselves there's a firm line between right and wrong. A wall that separates us from the darkness, from monsters. But have you ever felt it? That tremor? That flicker of a thought so ugly you refuse to even acknowledge it? Have you ever stood on the edge of your own morality and dared to look down? Because the line between a hero and a monster isn't a line at all. It's a razor's edge. For centuries, humanity whispered stories about monsters. Not just for the thrill. Not just to scare children into bed. But to ask a forbidden question we still haven't answered. Are monsters something that stalk us from the shadows? Or are they something we carry inside ourselves? These stories still have power. They still crawl under our skin. They still change us. And tonight, we're following the monster's trail. From ancient myths to cryptids to aliens, and finally to the most terrifying place of all, the human face. Because eventually, the monster stops hiding in caves and starts living next door. To understand the monster, we have to go backward, far back, to a world lit only by fire, where the dark wasn't empty, it was watching. The first monsters weren't born from malice. They were born from not knowing. Ancient civilizations lived surrounded by forces they couldn't explain. Storms that erased villages. Diseases that hollowed cities. Sea-swallowing ships without warning. So they gave fear a face. A tsunami wasn't physics. It was an angry god. A plague wasn't bacteria. It was a demon's breath. The Minotaur in its labyrinth. Medusa with her gaze of stone. These weren't bedtime stories. They were warnings. Don't stray from the path. Don't defy the gods. Don't ask questions you aren't meant to answer. In ancient Greece, parents warned children that Medusa waited beyond the cliffs. Not because she was real, but because fear kept them alive when reason couldn't. Fear kept people alive, but it also kept them obedient. There's a reason so many monsters punished curiosity, pride, or desire. These stories weren't just about chaos outside the walls. They were about chaos inside us. Take the vampire. On the surface, it's disease, contagion, rot. But beneath that, it's hunger. Desire without restraint. Consumption without guilt. Survival at the expense of others. The vampire doesn't just drain blood. It takes. and it never feels full. That's why the image endures, because somewhere deep down we recognize it. Psychologist Carl Jung called this hidden part of ourselves the shadow, the place where we bury every cruel impulse, every selfish instinct, every thought we don't want to admit we're capable of. Jung warned that the shadow can't be destroyed, only ignored. And when ignored long enough, it leaks out. We project it. That demon isn't a spirit from hell. It's your capacity for harm. That monster in the dark isn't hunting you. It's showing you something you don't want to see. The ancient hunt for monsters was never about slaying beasts. It was humanity's first attempt to confront itself. Time passed. We built cities of light. We mapped the seas. We explained disease. And for a moment, we believed we had won. So if the darkness was conquered, where did all the monsters go? They adapted. They shed their mythic skins and returned wearing something more dangerous: plausibility. The age of science didn't kill monsters. It created cryptids, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster. Not demons, not gods, flesh and blood. Creatures that could exist. That's what makes them unsettling. They suggest that despite everything we know, the world is still unfinished, untamed. And notice something strange. People don't just believe in cryptids. They remember them. They don't say, "I think I saw something." They say, "I know what I saw." Because cryptids aren't proof. They're about doubt. The Mothman didn't punish sin. It appeared before collapse. A bridge fell. Lives were lost. And suddenly, the monster wasn't a cause. It was a warning. A mirror of our fear that the structures we trust, our cities, our systems, our technology, are fragile. And then we split the atom. And our fear looked up. When monsters stopped hiding in forests, we lifted our eyes to the sky. The alien replaced the demon. Godzilla rose from radiation and guilt. The Cold War turned the sky into a ceiling of paranoia. Every strange light became a watcher. Aliens terrify us for one simple reason. They strip us of control. They observe. They study. They take without consent. They reduce us to animals again. Observed. Examined. Powerless. What terrifies us isn't that aliens might exist. It's that they might see us the way we see animals. Sleep paralysis, abduction stories, divine visitations. Different centuries, same fear. And look how aliens are described. 2 arms, 2 legs, eyes that almost understand us. They aren't truly alien, because even now, our imagination can't escape itself. Here's a question to sit with. If something has been watching us for thousands of years, would we even recognize it as a monster? Or would it look just close enough to human to make us afraid of what it might see in us? When monsters couldn't hide in the dark, they hid in the stars. But eventually, they came home. Something changed. Monsters stopped having claws. They started having names, faces, jobs. We didn't stop believing in monsters. We just stopped calling them myths. The serial killer is the monster of our age. Not because they're supernatural, but because they're ordinary. They look like us, they live among us, and they force us to confront the most unbearable question of all. How could someone do this? And worse, could I? For years, experiments like the Stanford prison experiment offered comfort. A simple story that evil is situational, that anyone could become a monster under pressure. But that story is falling apart. The experiment was guided. The guards were coached. The lines were blurred. Evil isn't that simple. And that's the real horror. Neuroscience shows broken wiring. Psychology shows broken childhoods. Trauma, neglect, obsession. Nature and nurture colliding. The monster isn't a demon. It's a damaged human being. Calling them monsters creates distance. It lets us believe there's something else, something other. But the truth is more unsettling. Their capacity for evil is human. And that's why we can't look away. We want monsters to be rare. Because if they aren't, then the line between us and them disappears. So, are monsters real? Yes. But not as creatures under your bed. They're real as tools we invent to understand fear, as mirrors, as warnings. The journey of the monster, from beast to myth to man, is the story of humanity slowly turning inward, not destroying the darkness, but recognizing it. Because monsters aren't born from having darkness inside you. They're born from denying it exists. The line between good and evil isn't between us and them. It cuts through every human heart. So the final question isn't whether monsters are real. It's this. Which one are you feeding? If this video made you uncomfortable, that means it worked. Subscribe if you want to keep exploring this darkness. And tell me in the comments, which monster has haunted you the longest? And what do you think it was trying to show you? Thank you for watching.